Hello everybody, this is Dr. Vishal Trivedi from Department of Biosciences and Bioengineering, IIT Guwahati. And what we were discussing about the different topics related to your biology course under the program IIT PAL for the class 11 and 12. And in this series, we were discussing about the chapter biotechnology and its applications. So as you might have seen, that while we were discussing about this chapter, we have discussed about the different types of applications of the biotechnology, whether it is a application in the agricultural field or the medical biotechnology, or whether it is related to diagnostics. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the new topic, and the new topic is transgenic animals. So what is mean by the transgenic animals? So transgenic animals are the animals which are actually going to carry the gene from the foreign organisms. What is mean by this is that you are actually going to have the transgenic animals where you are actually going to alter the genome of these organisms in such a way that it is going to be heritable manner, and if you want to do that, which means if you want to alter the genome of an organism so that it is going to be heritable, then you have to introduce the gene or the foreign DNA into the genome of its zygote or the embryo, so that when the zygote or the embryo is going to develop into the full organisms, all the cells like somatic cell as well as the genetic cells are going to have the genome of the same type, and these genomes are actually going to carry this foreign DNA. So in this case, the foreign DNA what you are going to use to introduce into the organism is called as the transgenes, because the gene is going to come from the separate species, and the process through which you are actually going to introduce this particular gene into the animal, and you are going to prepare the transgenic animal. So the overall process of preparing the transgenic animal is called as the transgenesis. So there are three ways in which you can be able to alter the genome of an organisms. Let's discuss about that. So you have sexual reproduction, which is a natural mechanism through which you can be able to alter the genome of a particular organism. In the sexual reproduction, what you are doing is you are taking a male, which is the blue color circles, and then you are taking a female, which is going to be of different characters like the red balls. And then when they are going with the sexual reproductions, they are actually producing a progeny, which is actually going to have the mixed characters. So here the mixed characters are actually going to have the genomic content, 50% genomic content from the male and the 50% genomic content from the female. And because of that, this progeny is going to be called as the hybrid varieties. These progenies will not called as the transgenic animals, because the genes what you are introducing into this particular organisms are coming from the similar kind of species. For example, if this is a rabbit, this is also a rabbit, but this could be a rabbit with the some definite phenotype. So because of that, the progeny what you are going to get is actually going to have the properties from the male as well as the female, and that's how this progeny is going to be of a improved varieties or improved characteristics. But these progeny will not going to carry any gene from the trans species. It is going to contain all the gene from the cis species, which means it is going to contain the DNA from the same species, and that's why these kind of hybrids are not called as the transgenic animals. Compared to that, you can be able to generate a transgenic animal with the help of the genetic engineering. If you recall, while we were discussing about the biotechnology principle and processes, we have discussed about how you can be able to generate the chimeric DNA. So what you have to do is you have to first isolate a genome, and then from the genome you have to isolate the gene of your interest, and then the gene of interest has to be digested with the restriction enzymes. Similarly, you have to process the vectors, and then you are going to put them together for the ligation reaction, and that's how you are actually going to get the chimeric DNA. This chimeric DNA then has to be introduced into the organism of your choice, and now at this stage, this particular DNA either can remain within the cytosol. For example, in this case, when we are introducing this into the bacteria, it is actually going to give you the transformed bacteria. But there are other cases. So this particular type of bacteria will not be called. So it's going to have carry the gene from the foreign organisms, but it is not going to be a permanent species, because after the few cycles, this plasmid is going to be removed. For example, and the other case could be that you actually going to clone the DNA into a vector. Then you introduce this vector DNA into the organisms. Once the DNA will enter into the nucleus. So at this stage, once you enter the DNA into the organism, it could have two choices. One, it is actually can go into the cytosol, like uh, it is actually can go into the cytosol, or it can go into the nucleus. So if it is goes into the cytosol, it will remain there and it will express for some time, but afterwards it will not going to integrate into the genome, because and it will be going to be removed. So these kind of organism where you are going to introduce the DNA into the cytosol are called as the temporary transgenic animals, or these are actually going to be called as the ectopic expression models. And the places where you are actually going to introduce the DNA into the nucleus, the DNA will enter into the nucleus, and then there will be an integration of the foreign DNA into the genome, and because of that, the DNA, the organism is going to be now permanently modified. So organism genome is going to be permanently modified in this particular case, and that's how these particular type of genome can be, or these kind of organisms are called as the transgenic animals. Let's see how you can be able to develop a transgenic animals. So if you want to develop a transgenic animals, you have to perform the four steps. In the step one, you have to construct a transgene, which means the gene of foreign gene which you are going to interested to introduce into the animals. So this transgene has to be cloned into a typical type of vectors, so that it should be able to integrate into the genome of the animal. Then in the step 2, you are going to introduce the transgene into the animal. So that is also has the multiple options which you can explore depending on the type of animal cell, and as well as the type of the vector, as well as the transgene what you are using. Then the third is, once you have done that, then you have to do the screening of transgenic animals, so that you can be able to screen the animals which have received, or which have received the gene and which have received the DNA into their nucleus. So at this stage, you can actually screen the organism for whether the gene is in the nucleus or whether the gene is in the cytosol, because the organism, if the organism is going to have the gene into the cytosol, it is not going to be converted into the transgenic animals in a due course, because because initially it may actually express for some time, and then later on the machinery is going to be destroyed this particular DNA. But if it is entered into the nucleus, then it is actually going to develop into the transgenic animals. Then the fourth step is, once you have selected the transgenic animals, then you can actually do the production of these transgenic animals for the future biotechnology applications. So in the step one, you are going to do a construction of a transgene. So the transgene is going to have the multiple components. Like the first component is that you have to isolate the gene of your interest. So gene of, as I foreign gene which you are going to express. So in that case, what you have to first isolate the genomic DNA, and then from with the help of the PCR, you can be able to express or you can be able to isolate the gene of your interest from the isolated genomic DNA, which means first you have to isolate the genomic DNA, and then with the help of the PCR, you can be able to do the PCR of that particular gene, and you can isolate that gene in the large quantity. And then you require the vector DNA. So in this case, you don't need the cloning vector, you require a expression vector, so that it should have also the cassettes which actually can allow the expression of this particular gene of your interest. And then you require the promoter as well as the termination sequence. So this is a typical gene cassette which you can use for construction of a transgene, where this is the region which you are actually going, where you are going to put your transgene, the foreign gene. Then it is going to be flanked on the promoter side. So on the 5' side, it is going to have the promoters. This promoter is actually going to be corresponding to that particular animal. For example, if I am using a mammalian system, then this promoter should be going to be recognized by the mammalian RNA polymerase and mammalian system. And then following that, it is going to have the vector DNA, and on the 3' side, it's going to have the termination sequence, so that whatever the protein is going to be produced, it is actually going to be terminated. And following these promoter as well as the termination, you are going to have the vector DNA. And the scheme through which you can be able to do the construction of transgene is very simple. First you have to take the genome of that particular foreign DNA. For example, if you are interested uh, uh, the cloning of the transgene of a particular gene from the human, then first you have to do is you have to isolate the human genome. Then with the help of the PCR as well as the primers and all that, that is what we have discussed when we were discussing about the biotechnology. You can be able to do the PCR of this particular gene. Then you do the stationarization and generate the cohesive ends. Similarly, you can actually be able to modify the vectors with the help of stationarization. You can generate the cohesive ends, and then with the help of the ligation, you can be able to generate the chimeric DNA. Now, this chimeric DNA is ready to be inserted into the particular animals, and that is the step 2, where you are actually going to introduce the transgene into the animal of your choice. So now in the step 2, you are going to introduce the transgene into the animal. So there are 3 methods through which you can be able to introduce the transgene into an animal. One is the retroviral vector based, which means you are actually going to clone the transgene into a retroviral vector. So retroviral means the viral based vector. And then what you have to do is you have to take the animal and give the infection with this particular type of viral particles. And once there will be a viral infection into the animal, the virus is a natural, under the natural process, is actually going to insert the DNA into the cell, and then this DNA will go to the nucleus of the particular cell, and then it is actually going to integrate into the genome of that particular organisms. The second is that you can use the DNA microinjection method. So in a DNA microinjection method, what you are doing is you're taking a cell, and then with the help of the microinjections, which microinjections are like a syringe, micro syringes, where you can actually take this particular type of DNA, and then directly you can inject that DNA into the nucleus of this particular cell, and that's how you can actually be able to deliver the DNA into the cell. And once it reaches to into the nucleus of that particular cell, then it will integrate along with the genome, and ultimately it is going to proliferate along with these cells. The third is that you can actually use the embryonic stem cell mediated transfer. So in that case, what you can do is you can just take the embryonic stem cells, and then you introduce the DNA of your choice, and that's how the embryonic stem cell can be differentiated into the different types of cells, and then you can implant those cells into the animal, and that's how you can be able to develop the transgenic animals. Now, once you have introduced the gene, you are actually going to have the 2 different species. One, where you have introduced the DNA, but the DNA is remain outside. It does not go into the genome or the inside the nucleus. The other species could be that where you have the nucleus and the DNA is within the genome. Now, this is the false positive, whereas this is the thing. These are the organism what you are looking for. So the next step is that you have to do the screening of the transgene into the animal. Now, if you want to understand the process through which the DNA will integrate into the genome, you can imagine that a cell has the this is typical animal cell. So what you have is you have the plasma membrane, you have the all the membrane bound organelles, and then within that you also have the nucleus. So once it enters into the nucleus, it is going to encounter the genome. Now within the genome, it is not going to randomly being put into any place. For example, with outside the vector DNA, you can also have the integration sites. So you can also put the some of the integration sites. So these integration sites are nothing but they are actually going to have the similarity to the sequence what is present onto the this particular genome. So you can imagine that I am putting a integration sequences of this flanking sequence of this particular genome. So this is a complete genome, and I have taken few sequence of this particular area and a few sequence from this area. So you can imagine that this is a particular type of gene which is flanked by the promoter as well as the terminator, and then I have just taken this particular flanking sequences. So what happen is that when this foreign DNA will enter, so you can imagine that this is my transgene. So once the transgene will enter, it is going to attach to this particular DNA with the help of this particular type of homologous sequences. So homologous sequences are the integration sites which are present on the both sides, and once they will attach to this, they are actually going to be replaced this particular stage of DNA with this particular type of DNA, and that's how this DNA is going to proliferate into the subsequent cycle. So in the first cycle, this will go and fit, and then the subsequent cycle, when there will be a replication, this portion is going to be removed and this portion is going to be replicated, and that's how in the beginning the two DNA will stick to this particular portion, and then later on during the cell cycle as well as the replications, this whole DNA is going to be replaced by this particular type of cassette, and that's how this portion of the genome is now being modified and where your transgene is expressing. So this transgene is now going to express and it is going to replicate, it is going to proliferate along with these cells as long as these cells. So if you do these kind of modification into the embryo or the zygote or all type of genetic cells, then this will continue even for several generations, because then whatever the organism you are going to generate, it is actually going to have the modified genome rather than this original genome. So that is the way the foreign DNA get integrated into the nucleus, and it get proliferated along with the several generations. Now, once you have introduced the DNA into the organisms, then you have to choose whether the DNA is being integrated into the right place, because it could be possible that it may find some similarity at this region and it could integrate into this region, but this region is not good enough because this region is not probably going to give you the expression. This region could be lethal for the organism, because sometimes if it can integrated into a wrong place, then it might have, because once it integrated into this region, this particular type of DNA is going to be removed, and that's how this DNA could be essential for this particular cell, and that's how it may actually doing the malfunctioning. So that's why you have to choose, you have to do the screening of the introduced DNA, the organism where you have introduced the DNA, for two purposes. One, whether the introduction of DNA would be at the right place, number one. Number two, whether the DNA is being introduced and it is actually expressing and giving you the desirable traits or not. So that you are actually going to do by the simple PCR method. So you are going to do the screening of transgenic animals. So transgenic progenies are screened by the PCR to examine the site of incorporation of the gene. So you are actually going to go for this particular type of cassettes. In this particular PCR, you have the choices, either you use the integration sites or you can use the some of the marker enzymes which you have put into this particular type of cassettes, or sometimes the gene of your place where you have actually introduced the DNA can be used. So there are three options. One, you can actually use this particular gene, and you can say whether this gene is being whether you are getting a PCR of this gene or not, because this gene is not going to be present in this particular animal. So if you use the primers and you overexpress the primers, then if you are getting the PCR product, this means that the gene is being integrated into the genome. So that is the first question. It will say, okay, the gene is being integrated into the genome. Number two, you can use the marker enzymes. So you can, if you use the marker enzyme like thymidylate or some other kind of marker enzymes, that will actually say whether the integration is occurring at the right place or not. Or sometimes the third is that you can actually use the place where you have introduced the gene, and you can take the flanking sequences and do the PCR, and that will say whether the integration occurs at the right place or not. Because if it happens somewhere else, then that may interfere into the normal physiology of that particular animal as well. Now in the step 4, the animal breeding is to be done to obtain the maximal expressions. Now at this stage, you have the two choices depending on the type of the foreign gene you are expressing. Because if your gene is problematic, for example, if your gene is the lethal, or suppose the removal of this particular gene from the both chromosome is problematic, then in those cases what people do is they are actually generating the heterozygous offspring, which means only the one chromosome is having the mutations or having the introduction of the gene, whereas the paired chromosome does not have the gene. So those kind of organisms or those kind of animals are called as the heterozygous offsprings. Now once you want the homozygous strain, so what you have to do is, for example, the plus minus, this is called as the heterozygous. So what I'll do is I'll take the 2 plus minus and I'm going to crossbreed, for example. So if I do the crossbreed, what I'll do, I'll get the plus plus and I'll get the minus minus, right? I'll get the plus minus also, right? So in this case, this is the pure strain where the gene of your interest is going to be present in both the chromosome. And this you can just generate instantly, because I said, gene is problematic to the organism. So you just instantly generate, do the experiments, and then you finish up. But you always keep the organisms in a heterozygous condition so that the organism is going to be proliferate. But if you want to have the organisms where you want to do the homozygous, then you can actually be able to just simply do the mating for one generation. It is going to give you the single generation of homozygous strains, and that's how you can use this homozygous strain for whatever the exclusive purpose for which you are generating these transgenic animals. Now, transgenic animals are being developed for a specific as well as the exclusive purposes, and that's why it is important to understand what is the purpose of these transgenic animals, and that you will understand if you go through with some of the classical examples of the transgenic animals. So one of the classical example is the superfish. So there are multiple fish type transgenic animals are being developed, and they are being done simply by different purposes. So for example, when the people have developed the superfish, so superfish is being developed because it is actually being going to give you the bigger fish. So you see, this is the superfish and this is the normal fish. So this is the transgenic fish and this is the normal fish. Then you can see the comparison. This fish is thin, this is small, whereas this fish is very large and very big and very fleshy. So why it is so? Because you are actually doing all this into edible fishes, because that will actually going to increase the growth as well as the size of these fishes. So if you increase the size and the growth of that particular fish, it is actually going to give you the more weight of these fishes, and that's how it is actually going to increase the productivity of the fishes. How you can do that? You can do that simply by introducing the growth hormone gene. So if you introduce the growth hormone gene from the human or other organisms, into this particular normal fish, the normal fish is going to get, so these growth hormones are actually going to cause the upregulation of the genes which are responsible for the growth and the size of this particular cell, this particular fish, and that's how you are going to get the superfish. A classical example is that the transgenic salmon fish, this is what you see here, is a salmon fish, which is also called as the superfish, grows about 10 to 11 times faster than the normal fish, which means it is actually going to give you the more production of fish in a lesser time frame, and as well as it is actually going to be increase your productivity. Now, compared to that, you can also have the glow fishes, and I think you remember when we were discussing about the biotechnology principle and processes, I took the example of glow fishes. So glow fishes are the fishes which are the ornamental fishes. So these ornamental fishes are being used in the aquarium for the for the pet purposes. And what you do here is you are actually overexpressing the different types of the fluorescent proteins into the different types of cells, different types of fishes. For example, you can have the zebra fishes, you can have the gold fishes, you can have all other kind of fishes. So fluorescent color pattern is can be generated into these fishes, and that's how these fishes have a very high market, and because they are very beautiful and they can be. And what you do is you are just expressing the fluorescent protein from the jellyfishes, and and that's how you can be able to have the different types of ornamental fishes. Then similarly, you can have the zebra fishes. So you can have the the transgenic zebra fishes. So the what is the advantage? They are optically clear. So they are very clear, optically clear shell. So because of that, you can be able to see the organism, as well as you can be able to see all the different types of organs inside the fish without even dissecting. So that is actually having a very big potential in terms of the study and the cure of the different types of disease model. For example, you can have because the zebrafish has the similar kind of developmental stages and similar kind of development what the humans are having. So you can actually study the developmental stages, and you can be able to, and apart from that, the zebrafish, the cardiovascular system as well as the heart is very close to the human system, so you can be able to study the how the different types of drugs and other kinds of things are affecting the heart, and how it is actually so that is the way you can be able to develop different types of disease model, and you can be able to study the progression of disease and as well as the cure of that particular disease. And then you have the grass corp. So grass corp is actually being used to produce the human protein. For example, you can have the production of human lactoferrin. So lactoferrin is a important protein which is required for the humans, and that you can be able to do simply by having a transgenic fish, where you can actually be able to get the lactoferrin in a large quantities. So these are the different types of the fishes what you can even develop with the help of the transgenesis. And then you have the few more example like the EnviroPig, transgenic cows. So EnviroPigs are the transgenic pigs. So what happen is that when the pigs are actually taking a diet, which is like green grasses and all other kinds of you know diet, that diet is having a compound which is called as the phyte. So phyte is actually, so these pigs are not very good in terms of the digesting this phyte. So the wild type pigs are very bad. So when they will not be able to digest these, they will not be able to gain the weight as they should get, because all these molecules. And on the other hand, because there will be an indigestion of the phyte, it is actually going to cause the other kinds of problems. So what happened is that scientists have overexpressed the phytase gene from the E. coli into these pigs, and that's how they have developed the EnviroPigs. And these EnviroPigs are good enough in terms of the digesting the diet which is high in phyte, and that's how they actually gain the large weight, and that's how they are actually being good for meat production and all other kinds of things. Apart from that, because the pig has the similar kinds of organs and all the kinds of things, the pig is also very good for the organ transplant. Then we have the transgenic cows. So the first transgenic cow, which is called as, or the bull actually, is called as the Hermann, and that was developed in the year of 1990. So you know that the cow is always being used for the milk production, and that is for the nutritional values. So the cow milk actually lacks one very important protein which is required for the human, is called as the lactoferrin, and this lactoferrin is very much good or essential for the humans. So because of that, the what people have done is they have generated a transgenic cow which where they have overexpressed the human lactoferrin gene, and they have introduced the gene with the with the procedure which is called as the pro-nuclear microinjection, which means they have injected the cloned human lactoferrin gene into the nucleus of these particular cell, a particular type of cow, and so this actually expresses the human lactoferrin genes. And apart from these, Hermann bull, they have also developed some other transgenic cows which actually gives the milk where you can have the lysozyme. So lysozyme is very important for the immune system, and it actually protects the humans against the bacterial infections. Then you can have the lactoalbumin, and then you can also have the some of the classical clotting factors like factor 7 and factor 9, which is important for the clotting of the blood. So this is important in those patients where they have the clotting defects. So that's how these transgenic cows are actually giving the milk which has which are actually providing the different types of human proteins, whether it is lactoferrins or lysozymes or lactoalbumin or the clotting factors. And then we have the few examples from the other organisms, like other animals like the transgenic rabbits. So the first transgenic rabbit was developed in 1985, and it was developed by the pro-nuclear microinjection carrying the transgenes, and it actually can overexpress any human proteins, because then you can actually, and it you can study the role of these particular protein into a particular type of human disease. For example, so the rabbits are very good for different types of disease model like the cardiovascular diseases or the AIDS or the cancers. Apart from that, the rabbits are also being used as a protein production machinery to overexpress the human erythropoietins, alpha glucosidase, and the human AAT. So human erythropoietin, as you know, is a very, very important hormone, and it is our growth factor that is required for production of RBC. So it actually synthesizes, or it stimulates the bone marrows to produce and differentiate the bone marrow cells into the RBC. So that's how it actually can be used for those places where you are actually producing, you are actually, the patients are developing the anemia because their bone marrow cannot be able to develop or cannot be able to produce large quantity of the RBC. Because because of the transgenic animals, it actually can allow you to have the large scale production, and once you have the large scale production, it is actually going to be very, very cost effective to have these human proteins, because otherwise the human proteins, overexpressing the human protein into the any kind of expression system, whether it is a E. coli expression system, yeast expression system, or even the mammalian expression system, is very, very costly. Apart from that, you can also have the transgenic chickens. So transgenic chickens are produced by infecting the embryos with a viral vector carrying the transgene. So in the case of chicken, you can actually use the viral vector containing the transgenes, and you can overexpress any human protein. So the purpose of having a transgenic chicken is that you want to increase the nutritional values of the chicken as well as of the egg also. So in this case, for example, you can have the even up to 0.1 gram human protein in the each egg, because actually which is going to be very high amount of proteins, which is going to be present by the transgenic animals. Human proteins with and the other advantage is that when you overexpress the human protein, it is actually going to have the similar type of glycosylation pattern what is present in the human, because the glycosylation machinery of the chicken as well as the humans are very close by, and that's how it is actually going to have the glycosylation pattern identical. That is actually having a very significant role because it is actually going to be less immunogenic, because the glycosylation pattern onto a particular protein is actually activates the immune system, and because these glycosylation patterns are kind of a recognition pattern, and because if the recognition pattern is same, these proteins are also going to be accepted by the humans without any kind of allergic reactions. And because you are developing this, or because you are producing this into the chicken, it is also going to be very cost effective. Apart from that, you also have the transgenic mouse as well as transgenic monkey. So transgenic mouse is very popular. Almost 90% of the transgenic animals which are being produced by the humans or by the scientists, the 90% is belonging to the mouse, because the mouse is very easy to manipulate, and also the mouse is represent. There are several models for already existing for the mouse, and that's how the adapting a transgenic animal to that particular condition is very easy. So the first mouse model was developed in the 1982, that is called as the super mouse. And super mouse is being used where they are big in size, and they are good mouse model for the different types of diseases. Similarly, for the transgenic monkey, the first transgenic monkey was developed in 1990, and its name was ANDI, and where the people have developed or people have overexpressed the green fluorescent protein from the jellyfish, and was produced by the pronuclear microinjections. And the transgenic monkey are also serving excellent model for different types of disease model, whether it is a cancer, AIDS, and the Alzheimer disease, because the monkey is very close to the human being, and that's how the model what you develop into the transgenic animals are going to give you the real picture what is happening in the humans also. So this is all about the different types of transgenic animals and how you can be able to generate the transgenic animals. And once you have generated the transgenic animals, you can be able to utilize them for different purposes. For example, you can use them for understanding the disease mechanism. You can also use them for the normal physiology, like you can study the normal blood clotting and all other kinds of physiology. Then you can also use them for producing the different types of biological products. You can also use them for the testing purposes, whether it is testing for the vaccine or testing of the normal heterocyclic drug molecules. And that you can be able to do because the transgenic animals offers you to overexpress a particular type of protein, or you can be able to knock out that particular type of protein. So if you overexpress, you are actually going to have the expression of a gene into a suitable vector, and that is useful for the different types of application. Even for, like in the case of pig, you can be able to use them to generate the EnviroPig, and that actually is good for organ transplant. Apart from that, when you do overexpression, you can be able to understand the disease mechanism, you can be able to understand, or you can be able to follow the physiology. You can be able to, you can be able to generate different types of products, vaccine, as well as the toxicity testing. Similarly, if you knock out, which means you can be able to generate, you can be able to remove the gene expressing the functional gene. You can be able to do the similar kind of thing, but you are removing the gene, so that is useful for understanding the role of that particular gene into the physiology. So this is just a brief overview about the transgenic animals and what kind of applications of these transgenic animal is possible. So in the subsequent, so with this I would like to conclude my lecture here. In our subsequent lecture we are going to discuss with more elaborations about the application of these transgenic animals, and how, and the different types of disease model, how they are being developed with the help of the transgenic animals, and how you can be able to utilize them to answer the different types of questions. So with this I would like to conclude my lecture here. Thank you.